Now we've heard from the panelists, and we'll now throw the floor open for discussion. But because this is an interesting session, we would want as much as possible for people to participate. And so I'm going to restrict the questions to one question per audience, per participant. So please, we'll take 3 batches of questions and then allow the panelists to respond, and then we go to the next 3 batches. I dread hearing the sound of the bell, so we'll try as much as possible to keep to time. We'll start from this side, and then we'll go to this side. 1, 2, 3. Please memorize your numbers.
I think I'm 1. Hi, my name is Bronwyn Irwin from ACDI Boca, and I want to thank the panelists for your presentations. You all focused on the importance of improving technology or promoting technology for on-farm improvement of productivity and reducing risk in order to address resilience, which I think is really important. But this session is also on agricultural systems and innovation and investment in ag systems. And I think there was a part of the conversation that was missing, and that was about the markets. Because we know that agriculture is very important for economies in many developing countries, and also for livelihoods of vulnerable farmers. And so really a lot of the ag production needs to be driven by markets. And so I guess I would just like to ask if you have any comments on markets and the role that markets play in resilience. That would be great. Thank you.
Please, when you're asking the question, identify yourself, and then as much as possible direct the question to any of the panelists so they know that they're supposed to respond. Number 2.
Hi, Susan Robertson from the International Development Research Centre of Canada. My question is actually for all of the panelists. I think we've heard from the agricultural experts who've dedicated their careers to research in agriculture, talking about the kinds of technologies that are important. But we've also heard from the farmers saying that there's a serious disconnect between the demand for technologies and the demand for services from the farmer side. And I'm curious to hear from your perspectives where that disconnect happens. How does it end up that we have a farmer's voice saying that their needs are not being met while we've dedicated so many resources across so many, so much intellectual capacity towards meeting those needs? Thanks.
Number 3. My name's Tim Gill. I'm working on the G20 food security policy with the Department of Foreign Affairs in Australia. This is a topic that's really been strong in the review of things that the G20 has done. How do we increase uptake of innovation and technology? So I think the question might be to Arden. You mentioned about systems-oriented research, but I welcome any response from anyone. What do we know at the moment? It doesn't have to be on a global level, it can be on a country level or even lower than that. What do we know about the factors that make it more likely for a farmer to take up technology compared to what makes it less likely? So any response to that will be really welcome, and thanks for your time. Thanks very much for the presentations too.
So let's, the issue of markets, Pamela?
Yeah, I can do that.
Yeah.
Thank you. So the issue of markets is critical, as we know, for smallholder farmers. We know that 30% of the yield today is lost because of to weevils, because of no storage capacity. We know that in any one year, when you've increased production and farmers have got lots and lots, they don't know what to do with it. So prices tank, and a middleman comes and buys off the farmers, stores it, and then months down the road, and the farmer sells because they need money for school fees, right? And then a few months down the road, they are buying from the middleman the same grain that they produced at 2 or 3 times more prices. So what are we doing to address that in agricultural systems? I thought I would use an example of what we're doing here in Ethiopia. It's a project that we call Advanced Maize Seed Adoption Program, where we've realized that we cannot address all the issues across the value chain by ourselves. So we are good at seed. We provide the seed, improved seed according to what the farmer wants. We've partnered with the Agricultural Transformation Agency and the government, and they're supporting us and helping us with extension work. As was said, every single farm needs extension work. We've partnered with USAID. They are very good at pulling together those people that can offtake the produce from the farms. This way, we are creating an end-to-end solution, a value chain solution for the farmer, so that we do not have excess grain sitting on the farms at the end of the season. So that's just one way in which many different players can come to the party, partner, and ensure that they give access to the farmers to markets.
Very good. Yemi, you want to take up the issue of disconnect between demand and supply?
Yeah, and also I want to address the issue of markets as well. In my submission, one of the elements I referred to was the enabling environment. And the market is also in that mix. Why? Because markets in itself constitute an incentive to produce. And if we borrow a leaf from countries that have really bridged the gap of food insecurity, now coming to the issue of bridging the gap, how have they done it? I will draw an example from a European country with a population of less than 20 million people, with 2% of the population involved in agriculture. And this country has a sophisticated value chain approach to dairy. This country is now feeding more than 200 million people in West Africa with milk. So how is that possible? That a country with 2% in agriculture is feeding a subcontinent with over 80% in agriculture. Now, I'll draw the parallel. If I'm a farmer in that country, which I don't want to name, but your guess is as good as mine. If I'm a dairy farmer in that country, I don't struggle to get the semen to inseminate my cows. My cows produce, and I'm getting anywhere between 40 and 60 liters of milk per cow per day. I don't struggle to get that milk sold because it's taken into a corporation, and that corporation takes it on from there, and the export mechanism takes it over. Take a farmer in Nakuru, for want of a place in Africa. That farmer is on his or her own. So the soft issues, the institutional linkages are not there. Whereas, and I've been an advocate of actually bridging science and policies. And the issue is that until we're able to bridge that, we can do all the science, and I put it very nicely the other day, that you can shake all the test tubes in the lab. If it has not happened on the plate, then net effect is zero. But transferring it from that test tube onto the plate is not in the domain of the scientist. It's not. So it's actually probably not a subject for this room. We can make a lot of guesswork, but there is a lot more to be done at a higher level where the policymakers should be a part of this whole mix. And I think until they are given their own part of the piece to solve, we will still be in this quagmire. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay. Yeah, respond.
So just trying to answer all the questions put together. And because the focus is coming again and again on technologies. And I think the technology has to be affordable. It cannot be like a Gillette razor. You give a farmer a Gillette razor free of cost, and then he has to go and buy a blade every 3 weeks that costs $2. And that's the problem with expensive technologies. It has to be affordable. And when there is a disconnect, that is the problem. There are other ways of giving. I'm not saying I'm very much in favor of private sector. I'm very much in favor of good seeds and good technology, but that's all discussions and all presentations focus on seeds. But I think there's a different thing that the small farmer needs in the village in his house. You could give him a small biogas unit that would fit into a drum this size, and it would give him cooking material. It could give him some generation for maybe charging a cell phone or maybe lighting a bulb. There are other ways of giving technology. There are other opportunities. There are many roads leading to the same thing. And I think so we could look at other things. And the problem with technology is that all the research is going where agriculture is going for those crops where agriculture is being done on a very large scale, like in the US or in Argentina or in Brazil. And then those crops are then given as food aid to Africa and to other countries. And that's where the disconnect is. What the farmer needs in Africa, because we are in Africa today, what the farmer needs in Africa, you have to ask him, does he need an expensive technology which will fail if there is no rain, and then there is no credit, and then the rate of interest is 20%, 40%, 36% annually? Is that what the farmer needs? And I don't think so that farmer needs that. And I really think that we need to talk to the farmers and ask him what he needs. Like you have this outside, you have a survey outside, you say, and then you see what the poll says. I think so IFPRI needs to do that. Go to the farmers and ask them, these are the 10 things people are ready to offer, and where are you going to get what from? Where are you going to spend your money on what item are you going to spend your money? It cannot be done, you cannot sit wherever we are and decide for people sitting elsewhere.